my friends, this is Bobby D coming to you from Talamban, Cebu, Philippines. I'm having an awesome day in the Philippines today, and I hope you are as well, wherever you're from. Hey, today I want to talk to you about taxi drivers in the Philippines. Taxi drivers in the Philippines. Now, when you talk about taxi drivers in the Philippines, you got to understand that these individuals are under a tremendous amount of pressure. Pressure to perform. First of all, taxi drivers are regulated by the Land Transport Franchise and Regulatory Board, LTFRB. Now, the LTFRB is a sub-department under the Department of Transportation. So, taxi drivers are required to have license, and they're required to fill out particular forms, etc., etc. You understand, most taxi drivers are not owners of the taxi themselves. They are usually subcontractors, or contractors rather. Now, because they're contractors, most of the people that they work for require a quota on a daily basis. Sometimes that quota could be 1,000 pesos a day. It could be up to 1,500 or 2,000 pesos a day. It just depends on the relationship and the agreement that they work out. So now, taxi drivers are required to pay their owners every day. Okay. So first of all, it takes several trips to come up to 1,000 or 1,500 pesos a day. So they've got to get that out of the way first. Okay. Secondly, anything above that over that 1,500 to 1,000, 1,500 limit is theirs. Okay, so they can make money, but they have to actually have a lot of fares and have a lot of trips, a lot of customers. And so you'll find that most taxi drivers in the Philippines work 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. As long as they can work, they will work. So you deal with people that are under pressure to perform, to get fares, to get money. You're dealing with people that are sleeping very little. You're dealing with some taxi drivers that are supposed to have licenses, but guess what? The licenses they have them on paper, but in reality, if you go down and check the Department of Transportation and the LTFRB, you're gonna find out there's something fishy with their licenses. Yeah, in other words, what I'm saying is their papers can be falsified just to get jobs. Okay. And so we're dealing with people that are under pressure to perform. We're dealing with people under pressure to stay up late. We're dealing with people that sometimes are sick. Sometimes taxi drivers are sick. They work sick. Sometimes taxi drivers have drug problems. Shabu. You ever heard of shabu? Shabu is an amphetamine, and they use it to help them stay up. Okay, shabu is illegal in this country. So we're dealing with individuals that have serious pressures on them. Okay, so these taxi drivers are notorious in the Philippines. Some of them have been accused of rape. Some of them have been accused of robbery. Some of them have even been accused of murder. Okay, so when you are dealing with taxi drivers with a notorious reputation as that in the Philippines, I advise you to be very careful. Okay? Here are some things I suggest you to do. Number one, whenever you're dealing with a taxi driver, you want to first of all make sure that they have a meter. Okay? Secondly, not only should you make sure they have a meter, but you need to make sure that the meter is running. And secondly, if you do ask them to take you somewhere, ask them, do they know the location, how to get to the location, and are they familiar with that location? A lot of taxi drivers are not familiar with the area. Some of the taxi drivers work on a piecemeal or part-time basis. Sometimes they drive one day here and they work on a regular job. Some of them work on the weekends, and they're not familiar with the area. So when you find that a taxi driver is not familiar with where you're going, it's going to cost you money if they take you, because they got to figure out how to get you where you got to go. Okay. So yeah, make sure they're familiar with the area that you're trying to get to. Third, make sure that you get that taxi driver's license plate number and the cab number at least. Okay, make sure you take that, because if there's a problem with that taxi driver, you have the right to report them to the LTFRB. Okay, you have the right. Now you can report them, but on the other side of that is good luck with that, because the LTFRB gets so many complaints, they very seldom get back to you. But you still have a record of it. What many people are doing is they're not reporting it to the LTFRB, they're reporting it to media. A lot of videos you find on the internet where taxi drivers have done something wrong to the passengers. Recently there was an incident where a taxi driver was very verbally abusive to a taxi driver, a customer, and the video went viral. Now I have a link to that, and I may show you some of it on the screen, but I have a link to that video for you. So yeah, you gotta be careful when you're dealing with taxi drivers in the Philippines. Recently, Lisa D and I were in Manila, and we had problems with taxi drivers. I was so glad to get out of that city. The taxi drivers some of them refused to take us places, and we were paying customers. We had money. They refused to pick us up. The reason was the location we wanted to go to was too close, and they would not earn enough money. But that doesn't make sense, because the more fares you get, the more money you're going to get, and it's going to make up for that. So anyway, then we had a taxi driver that actually, he got us to our location, and he was so angry because Lisa said he was overcharging us. And she said, next time, make sure you charge the right fare, and she paid him. As soon as she paid him the money, the guy took the money and threw it at her. He literally threw the money at her, and he threw it out the window, and he sped off. So yeah, you're dealing with taxi drivers that are under a tremendous amount of pressure, and those pressures cause them to react in unfavorable and negative ways. So just wanted to give you some information on taxi drivers in the Philippines. Be very careful. A lot of times they take advantage of foreigners. So if you get into a taxi cab, make sure you have a meter first of all. Make sure they're familiar with where you're going. Get their taxi cab number and get their taxi cab number and the license for the taxi cab, so that if necessary you can report it. Now if you get into a taxi cab and they're driving you somewhere and they're taking you away, and you think that they're probably going out of the way, the best thing you do is tell the taxi driver stop, that you need to use the restroom. When you get out the car, out of the taxi, go call the police. Okay? Go call the police. That's the best advice I can give you if you're feeling uncomfortable, or if you're feeling something's not right when you're in your taxi drive going to your destination. But that's it for right now, guys. I just wanted to give you some information on taxi driving, taxi drivers here in the Philippines. You got to be careful. Taxi drivers, we've had some good ones, but I got to be honest with you, in Manila and in Cebu, we've had more bad than good. So word to the wise, be cautious. That's it for now, my friends. This is Bobby D saying take care, God bless, and peace.